in the small Punjabi town of Phulawan, where the mornings began with the distant call to prayer and the nights hummed with crickets in the sugarcane fields, lived an old man named Haji Creamton. At 70, he was a man of simple habits and steady faith. Every day, he'd walk to the mosque at dawn, leaning on his stick, greeting neighbors with a gentle smile. His house was modest, with mud-bricked walls and a neem tree shading the courtyard. But there was one thing about Haji Cream that stirred endless curiosity. His Sundoq, a small wooden case, dark with age, always kept beneath his creaky sharp-oar. No one was ever allowed to open it, not his sons, not even his favorite grandchild, little Sarah. Whenever anyone asked what was inside, Haji Cream would smile and say, "Beta, this Sundoq holds my life. Some things must stay closed until Allah wills otherwise." Over the years, that little box became a legend. Children whispered it held gold coins from before partition or a map to buried treasure. The adults joked about unpaid debts or a secret will. But Cream Din said nothing. The Sundoq remained where it always was, wrapped in a faded cloth, gathering the dust of decades. As the years passed, Creamdin's beard turned white and his steps slow. His wife had passed long ago. His sons were busy with their own families. And he spent his days sitting in the courtyard, counting prayer beads. Still, the Sundoq never left his sight. Sometimes, his hand would slip under the sharp-oar to touch it, as if reassuring himself it was still there. When he moved it, his grandchildren would hear a faint jingling sound. But he never explained what it was. One evening, in July of 1987, a heavy monsoon swept through Phulawan. Rain poured down, turning the lanes into rivers of mud. Inside, Haji Cream lay weak on his bed, his breathing uneven. His eldest son, Rafiq, sat beside him. The old man opened his eyes and whispered, "Rafiq, when I am gone, you may open the Sundoq." Not before. Then he closed his eyes, and the sound of rain filled the silence between them. That night, Haji Cream Din passed away in his sleep. The family buried him the next morning near the old banyan tree by the mosque. The town mourned him deeply, for he had been a man of prayer, patience, and quiet dignity. After the funeral, as everyone gathered in the courtyard, Rafiq brought the Sundoq out from under the sharp-oar. The lock was old and stiff with rust. The women, their eyes red from crying, fell silent. The men leaned closer. Even the children stopped whispering. Slowly, with a long, reluctant creak, Rafiq forced the lock open. Inside, neatly arranged, lay just a few small things. A bundle of 127 rupees and 7 annas, wrapped in old paper, a few leaves of tobacco, dry and brittle, and an old black and white photograph. Folded carefully at the corners, Rafiq unfolded the photograph. It showed a young man in a soldier's uniform, standing beside a woman with long braided hair and bright, laughing eyes. On the back, in faded Urdu script, were the words, "To my cream, until we meet again." Zainab. The family exchanged puzzled glances. None of them had ever heard the name Zainab. Who was she? Why had their father kept a photograph hidden for all these years? That evening, an elderly neighbor, Amina Bibi, came to offer condolences. When Rafiq showed her the photograph, she gasped softly. Her eyes filled with tears as she whispered, "So he kept it all this time." She sat down, her voice trembling with memory. "Zainab," she said slowly, "was Haji Cream's first love. This was before partition. Back in 1947, they were engaged to be married, but when the borders were drawn, her family got trapped across the line in Amritsar. Cream searched for her for years, He went to Lahore, wrote letters, asked travelers, but no word ever came. He never found her. She paused, looking at the open Sundoq. That was when he stopped smoking, too. She used to roll his cigarettes from her father's tobacco leaves, you know. He said he couldn't bear the smell anymore, it reminded him of her. Amina Bibi then pointed to the coins. The money, she added, that was what he saved to bring her across the border. 127 rupees and 7 annas enough for a cart, a train ticket, food for the journey. But she never came, and he never spent it. The courtyard was silent except for the faint rustle of leaves. The grandchildren looked at the photograph with wide eyes, as if they were seeing their grandfather for the first time, not as the quiet old man who prayed, but as a young soldier once full of hope and heartbreak. That night, Rafiq sat for a long time with the Sundoq. He ran his fingers over the coins, the paper, the photograph. He realized that his father's seemingly ordinary life had carried a hidden tenderness, a love story buried under decades of silence. The Sundoq wasn't a box of wealth, but a small shrine of memory and loyalty in the days that followed. The photograph was placed in a simple wooden frame and hung on the wall near Haji Karim's portrait. The sun, now empty of mystery, was kept on a shelf, not hidden away. Every year, on the anniversary of his marriage, the family would open it and tell the story of Haji Karim and Zainab, a story of love lost time, remembered, of a promise kept in silence. Years passed, Fula won't changed, new roads were built, fields became houses, and the old neem tree fell in a storm. But the Sundoq remained, polished smooth by time. Inside it still lay a few coins, the dry leaves of tobacco, and the photograph of a young couple who never met again. And the people of Fula came to know that the old man's Sundoq had not held riches or gold, but something far rarer, a heart that remained faithful to its first love, a memory that had outlasted time itself. Thank you so much for watching. If the story touched your heart, please consider liking this video and subscribing for more stories that remind us of the beauty hidden in everyday lives. We'll see you in the next one.